What if I told you that there is a force invisible guide many of your decisions, even those you swear you made freely, an energy seductive, disguised as pleasure that enters through the eyes, settles in the mind, and enslaves the soul? Not just about desire. We're talking about the lust, one of the oldest and most powerful forces that have fought the wise men, saints and warriors spiritual throughout the history. While the modern world normalizes it, celebrates it and converts in entertainment, few dare to face its true face, a force that corrupts, that divides, that consumes. Unlike others' enemies, the lust doesn't scream, it whispers, it doesn't hit the door. It leaks through the cracks of the soul, and when one realizes it, has lost a lot. Today, I invite you to look with others' eyes, to observe that part of you that has been numbed, but that still can wake up. Because who wins the lust conquers the inner world, and from there, everything others begins to change. Lust is not simply an exaggerated sexual drive, it is a profound distortion of the human desire, a corrupted version of natural longing for connection, beauty, and unity. In its most subtle form, it disguises itself as curiosity. In its most destructive form, it becomes an obsession, dependence, and chaos. It does not appear suddenly. It germinates silently, like a seed planted in the darkest corner of the soul. And the most dangerous thing is that it feeds on the empty, from boredom, from the loneliness, of the unexpressed pain. When we don't know who we are, we seek pleasure immediate to fill that abyss, and that is where the lust finds its fertile ground. There is no peace for those who live dominated by this uncontrolled fire, because it always wants more, because it's never enough. Because in the end, it consumes the wearer himself. In many traditions spiritual, the lust is not just a sin, it is an inner demon, a symbolic entity that steals your will, fragments your vital energy, and transforms love into merchandise. And when that happens, consequences are no longer limited to the individual. Chaos extends to relationships, to the society, to the collective soul. How to fight something that lives inside you, there starts the true battle. We live in an era where the lust, it is no longer hidden. It is displayed, promoted, and even rewarded. What was once considered a vice is now sold as freedom. But that freedom has a price, and it's much higher than we imagined. The industry of the entertainment has turned bodies in products. Advertising uses the seduction as currency. And social media, they feed a culture of constant exposure, where a person's value is measured by how much fur sample or how many wishes generates. Behind this apparent modernity, a silent epidemic hides: empty relationships, addictions disguised as habits, fractured self-esteem, and a generation whole that confuses validation with love. The symptoms, they are everywhere. They increase. Cases of infidelity are skyrocketing, sexual crimes. It is normalized, the human objectification, and most alarmingly, many already neither it notice. A society seduced is an anesthetized society. It loses his capacity for wonder, for connection true, of compassion. Lust, when it is installed collectively, transforms culture in a meat market where the soul is converted into something secondary. What is left for us when everything sacred is trivialized? The answer is revealed in the places where it hurts the most, in the core of the family. When the lust enters through the door, love usually escapes through the window. Many homes that today they are broken. They were not destroyed by poverty, nor by disease, nor even for the distance. They were disintegrated from within, slowly by the betrayal disguised as pleasure. A furtive glance, a hidden message, a connection, prohibited. It all begins with a spark but ends in fire. And when fire consumes the family nucleus, ashes, they reach everyone, especially the most innocent, the children. A child who grows up amidst shouting, lies, or abandonment carries wounds that last for decades. The paternal figure breaks, trust fades, and the home, which should be a temple, becomes in an emotional battlefield. Lust, in this context, acts as an agent of chaos. It destroys sacred pacts. It turns he-commitment in charge and replaces true love for satisfaction momentary. But it's not just a private matter. The family is the pillar of every society. When the families break up, the whole social structure trembles. And that is exactly what this force seeks, to destabilize from the root. Because a society without families strong, it is a society soulless. And that is the true tragedy. Pornography is not just an industry multimillionaire. It is a silent drug, disguised as freedom, accessible in any time from anywhere. And its impact, although invisible to the naked eye, it is devastating. Like heroin, pornography activates the same pleasure centers in a brain. It generates an artificial dopamine release that, with heat time, requires increasingly higher doses. The user already does not look for pleasure, seek escape, and without give account, it becomes slave of a screen. But the damage goes far beyond of the brain. Perception of the another is distorted. The body ceases to be sacred and becomes an object. Sex loses his spiritual dimension and is reduced to visual consumption. Real relationships weaken, empathy disappears, loneliness grows. Many men and women, they fight in silence with this vice, feeling ashamed, trapped in a cycle of guilt, desire, and emptiness. And meanwhile, the industry continues to feed the market with bodies, with souls. Pornography not only corrupts the individual, it corrodes culture, deactivates the awareness, and normalizes the degradation. How many lives are there, being shaped by what they see in the darkness of their rooms? Maybe it's time to turn on a light. There is an uncomfortable truth that few accept. The self. Mastery comes not from inspiration, but from discipline. And when it comes to overcoming lust, discipline is not just a tool, it is a shield. It is what separates the free man from the slave to his impulses. Today's culture teaches us to follow our desires, to not repress anything. But the great sages, since ancient times ancients, they said it contrary, that the true power is found in his self-control. Being disciplined is not living without pleasure. It is consciously choosing what kind of pleasure deserves your energy. It is looking at desire in the eyes and say, you are not in charge here. Discipline strengthens the will like a muscle. It begins with small acts, resisting a temptation, turning off a screen, changing focus. With time, that energy not repressed but redirected is transformed into fire creative. Here is born he, spiritual warrior, he who does not deny his darkness, but he tames it. He who does not let himself carried away by every impulse, because he has a vision bigger, taller, brighter. Want freedom? Then you need structure. Do you want peace? You need inner order. Do you want true love? You need to master your shadows. And it all starts with discipline. Sexual energy is one of the more powerful forces that human beings possess, but their purpose is far beyond of the physical pleasure. It is an energy, creative, vital, transformative, and when it is channeled with consciousness, can become into a source of extraordinary power. The ancients, they knew this. Mystics, alchemists, yogis, all spoke of transmutation, the art of converting the carnal passion into spiritual impulse, the raw desire in sublime creativity. Not about repressing the desire, that only generates guilt and more obsession. It's about redirecting it, of converting the strain in art, the drive in inspiration, the fire in construction. Think in the great geniuses, artists, inventors. Many of them, they channeled his sexual energy towards their works, towards their missions, towards something greater than themselves. That was their way of transcending. You also can do it. Write, create, serve, love deeply. Because when you transform the desire in delivery, in vision, in purpose, you stop being a prisoner and you become an architect of your life. Lust doesn't have to be your enemy. It can be your ally if you learn to master it. And that is only possible when you find a channel worthy of your fire. When the soul is focused on create, there is no space for the self-destruction. And this is where a key concept, the state of flow, that almost mystical experience in the one that the time disappears, the mind focuses, and your whole being aligns with what you are doing. According to psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the flow occurs when we face a significant challenge. With total concentration and dedication, the result, fulfillment, meaning, peace, and you know what? That same energy that the lust tries to devour, it can feed that state. But for that, you need a channel, a mission, a goal that ignites your soul beyond of the pleasure instantaneous. It can be music, writing, art, sport, study, the service to others. When you immerse yourself in an activity that challenges you and you are passionate about, you enter into other frequency, and that frequency, cure. The mind leaves of wandering, the body aligns, the soul soars. Desires don't disappear, they transform, they become organized, they become subordinate to something greater. The desire needs direction, and great achievements are born when fire is channeled towards the creation, because every time you choose to build instead of consume, you are winning. Overcome the lust is not a conquest of a day, it is a daily war. A battle that is fought in the mind, in the eyes, in the heart. Every time the impulse hits, every time the temptation whispers, there will be falls. There will be days in which the force falters, moments of darkness, of shame, of silence. But listen well, defeat is not in fall, but in surrender. Every spiritual warrior knows that the enemy does not rest. Therefore, neither can sleep your surveillance, but he is not alone. There is an army invisible of souls that also are fighting, men and women who decided not to follow the easy way, but the path straight. What do they choose? Get up every time, even with tears, even with wounds. There is strength in the community, in sharing, in speaking, in praying together, in remembering that the human soul was made for love, not for slavery. Spirituality is not perfection, it is perseverance. It is returning to the light every time one strays. It is trusting that while is breath, there is possibility of redemption. Every conscious choice, every no said in time, every thought mastered is a victory. And you, today, have already given a one step closer to your freedom. Not just about abstaining, it's about waking up. About looking within and understanding that true freedom is not in do what one wants, but in not to be a slave to what drags you down. Overcome the lust is more than a moral achievement. It is an inner transformation. It is conquering your energy, your purpose, your essence. It is recovering what the disordered desire attempts to steal, your sacred identity. And although the road is arduous, every step is worth it. Because whoever masters his passions becomes in master of his destiny. Now I ask you, what is your struggle? What strategies have you helped on this path? Share on the comments. Your experience can be the light that another needs. And if this message, it touched your soul, subscribe, like, and share this video. Together we are stronger. Together we keep fighting.